Get off social media. Instagram is one of the most toxic things you can do to your brain. And if you've been watching social media for the last, 5-10 years, you'll notice that whenever you spend hours on the application, you never really feel better about yourself afterwards. It's a very common effect that it will have on you. In fact, when is the last time you spent 5 hours on Instagram and you felt great after? You felt accomplished, you felt happy, you felt energetic, you felt focused, you felt like you were on your purpose, right? You felt motivated. Never. The reason, I'm gonna first get into one thing, which is if you actually want to break your social media addiction, then watch this entire video because I will help you with that. If you don't want to break it and you want to just stay brain rotted, low IQ, high reactivity, stressed out, anxious because of social media, which by the way, I guess let me actually state that real quick. The reason, there's this one interesting scientific fact, or maybe statistical fact, which is that ever since social media became a thing, anxiety in people has drastically went up, specifically younger people. Why younger people? Because they use more social media and they're also more easily manipulated. It's both. Not only do they use it more because they have more free time and stuff, but they're more easily manipulated and thus they ended up using it more, and they're also more affected by it emotionally and mentally than their older counterparts because they haven't really grown up and they don't have a solid mental model of reality yet. So the statistic that people have been getting more and more anxious ever since social media became a thing, people have becoming more and more suicidal, anxious, depressed. There's this really strong correlation that it has to do with social media. It's so strong that it's strong enough to basically say that that's why people have gotten worse mentally with their mental health. So yeah, if you want to watch this video and remove your social media addiction, keep watching. If you don't, because you want to stay brain rotted, don't watch this, because I think I can actually change your mind about this application. So yeah, the why as to why you should remove social media from your life or get better at restricting it is because it's been shown to increase levels of anxiety and depression. I mean, does anybody want to be anxious and depressed? I don't think so. And I'm going to explain to you why it does this. The reason it does this, there's a lot. I want you to first understand, why is it that you have such a strong urge to check social media? It all comes down to your biological instinct to be part of a society, to be social, a social drive. It's the same reason you have friends. It's the same reason you want to go out and party and you want to talk to people and you want to meet new people. You want to date new women. You want to date the girl you're currently dating. That feeling of being connected to other human beings is one of the most strongest primal drives we have as human beings. Now, sadly, this has been used against you when it comes to social media, because I want you to view Instagram and social media like a small artificial dose of that social connection. But it's artificial. It's not really that real. And the reason I say it's not real, and the reason I'm telling you it's artificial, is because it doesn't have the same effect. Because the same thing isn't really happening. You see, when you meet someone in person and you talk to them, you have to move your mouth. You gotta use energy to talk to them. You gotta look at them. You're more engaged. You can hear their voice. You can see their face. You can feel their energy. You can feel it. But when you're on your phone and you go on Instagram and you see someone's fucking picture that they're at the Bahamas or something, it's not the same effect. You're getting this snapshot, this filterized, edited snapshot that has been carefully curated to be there on that person's post for whatever reason. And usually, 99.9% of the time, it is to look cool and to get validation from you. Imagine if every time you were walking down the street or something, you saw that snapshot of everyone's social media, right? You see that person over there with the edited Bahama vacation. You see the person over there with their fucking baby that they just had. You see the person over there, the girl over there with the fucking 20 out of 10 hip to waist ratio that just cannot be real, but on Instagram it is. It's like, what the fuck? What kind of weird life are you living? It's distracting. Because life, real life, isn't as, you could say, flashy as social media makes it seem. No one's life is. Everyone has to wake up, take a shit, eat food, take care of their mental health, go work out and exercise. Everyone sometimes feels antisocial, sometimes they feel tired, sometimes they feel down. But you don't see this on social media. So instead, when you see everyone having a grand old time on social media, it's kind of telling you like, you're missing out, bro. You're different than everyone else. So it kind of does the opposite. It actually makes you feel less connected to society because you're being supplied with this artificial perception of what society is. So you actually get more disconnected, which is, I just made that correlation right now. That the more social media you have, the less connected you actually are to society. Because Instagram is not the real world. It's not. See, I'm very genuine on my Instagram. I am, but even that isn't me. Even that, you can't base it on who I am. Yet so many people have their identification wrapped around Instagram. Like that is who they are in their mind. Especially girls nowadays. They're so identified with their Instagram. Like that's who they are, you know? You know, it's a little bit of a sad thing in society that people are so obsessed with this application. So yeah, it distorts your view of society because it's just not an accurate representation of it. That's one. Now two, the reason it's really bad for you is that it also gives you like this fake satisfaction that allows you to then avoid real socializing. So for example, let's say after work you check your phone and you're on Instagram for 1 hour and then you feel kind of shitty. And then like, I don't know, you're in the elevator and someone's there, but you're not really feeling good. You're not feeling social. You're just more in your head because of the Instagram, because of the phone. So you don't say hi to that person. And then even your friend wants to hang out, but you're just not really feeling it. So you don't hang out with your friend. On the contrary, let's say you had a hard day at work, but you didn't have social media to look at 6 p.m. And instead you were just kind of there by yourself and you're like, oh, shit, I kind of feel like being social right now. Because by the way, it's kind of like one of the triggers as to why you'll check your Instagram and your phone, is you're seeking that social validation. So imagine you didn't have the application. What do you think your body will do and your mind will do? In fact, I don't even need you to imagine. I need you to actually look back at society and how life was before there was a phone, before there was Instagram. People would go out and socialize. There weren't as many introverts and weird, anxious people. That wasn't like a thing. That wasn't as common. You would go out and socialize because you know that that's all you could do. You're not going to stare at a fucking wall. You'd be like, damn, I wonder how my friend's doing. And instead of checking his Instagram, you just got to go and fucking hang out with him. And then you go and you socialize for 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever. And you come back refreshed, feeling better, feeling great, feeling alive, feeling inspired. And then you have a great fucking evening. You don't feel like it was just wasted. You don't feel like it was just something that just like, you don't feel like life is something that you're just kind of pressing fast forward on. So social media gives you this artificial sense that you were social, but you weren't. You were actually antisocial. You actually became more introverted. You actually became more in your head. Now, there's another reason social media is really bad for you, which is just the concept of dopamine, specifically with your phone. The thing about dopamine, every time you spike it, what that does is it actually makes you crave more dopamine. It's this really interesting effect it has on you. You ever have like a shitty breakfast, like you just eat like you eat out for breakfast, and then for lunch you just kind of feel like eating some shitty stuff again, and then dinner you do the same thing? Or like, I don't know, you wake up, you check your phone, and then next thing you know, you're checking your phone all day. All that is an addiction to the dopamine spike that you originally took at the beginning. That's all it is. In fact, this is shown on a scientific level that when you eat like a carbohydrate, for example, and you get like that spike of glucose, what that really does is it triggers you to want to have another spike of glucose later. Because you go up and you feel that spike, and then the moment it starts going down, that's the craving. You're craving like, no, I want to stay up here. Right? So you check your phone and you're just kind of like looking at memes like an idiot. You get the spike of dopamine. You put your phone away, you're walking for a bit, and then you want to just fucking check your phone again. Boom. And then you're in this perpetual cycle of chasing a high. The reason this isn't good is because what that does is it just lowers your baseline. You see, we aren't these machines that can just spike our dopamine all day with zero repercussions. That's just not how we operate, really. In fact, a perfect example of this are drug addicts. If you look at a drug addict, they are the absolute best analogy, best extrapolation of what social media and your phone have on your brain, basically. It's the best one. The best one. Imagine you did a drug. Why is it that you've never done heroin? For, I don't know, 99% of the people watching. Why is it you never done it? It's because you feel like if you did it, you'd want to do it again. So you're scared. You don't want to do it. You don't want to get into that cycle, right? See, theoretically speaking, if you knew you could do it once and never do it again, I feel like a lot of you would actually do it. Right? But the reason you're stopped from doing it is because of that reason. And the reason other drugs are more popular is because of that reason that, oh, there's people that done it and stopped doing it, like weed or even alcohol. The reason those are more popular is because there's less of that fear, which is real fear, that if you get into the cycle, you can't break it. Now, what's interesting about this cycle is that you're on the same thing with your social media. You have a cycle. It's like a cycle. It's like you're doing a drug. And it's hard for you to break it. But just like drugs, what happens when you start doing fucking a drug all the time? For any of those who are recovering addicts, you'll know what I'm getting at. In fact, I'll just tell you a story about this, which is I used to smoke weed every day, all the time. And what happens when you do a drug all the time? Well, let me tell you. The first time I smoked weed, it was magical. I just remembered it. I literally just thought of it. It was so cool. I was at my friend's house, I remember, and we smoked weed a bit, and then we just kind of like talked. And it was such a novel thing, so we were just so like, what's the word? We were so enchanted by just the idea of being high. Like, it was just like cool. We were like sitting on a couch just like, whoa, we're high right now. You know what I mean? And then what ended up happening is I kept smoking weed. I remember one time I'm at like Great America, this like amusement park. I smoked weed there. That was cool. Being high at an amusement park, that was fun. More fun, right? More dopamine. And then like next thing you know, I'm like slowly doing it more, right? Just like I told you, that it's something that you're gonna like be put into the cycle. You're slowly craving another high, another high, another high. Until next thing you know, I'm doing it all the time. And guess what? By the time I'm doing it all the time, you gotta ask yourself, do you really think it was as special as when I did it only once, like that first time? Do you really think it was the same experience as the first time every time? It wasn't. It became more normal to me. Just like the Great America reference, I had to continuously keep doing more fun things and more things for it to be like the same kind of high, if that makes sense. And it got to a point where I just had to be high to be normal. I would just smoke, and I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm high right now. I would just kind of smoke to be normal. And you see how dangerous this is like with time, any addiction loses its sense of dopamine and pleasure, so you're forced to do more of the addiction, and you're forced to do it more often, and you're forced to do it more extreme. And that's why people get into drug cycles and then they destroy their life. Because they are chasing this high that never stays. You get high, you want more of the high. You're like, let me do the same amount of weed or the same amount of this drug. You try to get that as high, it doesn't stay, so you gotta do more. That's how they get you. That's how they get you. In fact, this is how a lot of people are addicted to a lot of things. Not just drugs. But I guess to get back to this video, it's the same thing with the social media, right? In fact, when I first got Instagram, I remember it was so cool. I remember I was like, whoa, I got a like. You know what I mean? And then now it's like, I don't give a fuck about some like. What the fuck? It's definitely not as cool as it used to be. Definitely not as cool as it used to be, man. So you're in the same cycle with social media, which is you're chasing this high that never really stays there. So what should you do? Now that you know these things, now that you know that social media is essentially this thing that lowers your baseline enjoyment, which, by the way, let me actually tie this into a very important point, which is all this will affect your entire life, not just social media, not just your society, not just your socialism, but it affects your entire life. Because now that you're like chasing this high, you're not as abundant within yourself. You're not as secure just by yourself. You're dependent on the Instagram to make you feel whole. And see, there's a really deep metaphysical problem with that, which is the moment you're not abundant and secure and feel free within yourself, that moment, now you're not going to attract the life you want. Because through that energy, you're not attracting anything. I can get into this in a different video, but because it's such a deep topic, but the last thing you want to do is operate from a sense of chasing and lack. Last thing you want to do. And that's exactly what social media will put you in. Okay? See, any state is perpetuated more and more by the state itself. So if you're operating from a state of lack and chasing, that's going to make you do more things that are aligned towards that, which is going to make you feel more like in the state of lack and chasing. And on the contrary, if you're operating from a state of abundance and security and peace and relaxedness, you're going to continuously do things aligned with that, which will continuously put you in that. This is called hypnotic rhythm, and either you can be in a positive direction or a negative one. I hope by now you understand the dangers of social media. I've been thinking about this topic for so long. It's been such a big core thing in my life. See, as someone who has their business on social media, I can't completely avoid it. And for those of you who don't have your business on social media, I'd tell you to completely fucking avoid it. Like, if you don't have no business being on there, bro, just completely fucking avoid it. Or use like the desktop version. That's a hack. Or use the Chrome version. It's another hack. See, the application itself is so much more addictive than the Chrome application. I've tried to see the differences, and it's such a big difference. And actually, before you even do that, another practical way to lower your social media consumption is to stop looking at Reels and stop looking at the Explore page and stop looking at stories. Unless you're specifically watching this one person because they give you value, like me. Then okay, that makes sense. But even then, you should have like 5-10 people like that at most. Otherwise, you need to stop watching a bunch of crap. You know, I could keep going on about why it's so bad for you. I could. Like, another point is that the more you consume bullshit, the more you're just spewing out bullshit. See, someone who reads a lot and consumes deep work, deep, interesting things, that person spews out more interesting things, such as me. You think I'm just spewing this out from scrolling on TikTok? No, I'm not. You think I can just hold a 30-minute monologue whenever I want to because I'm on Instagram all the time? No. See, I have more focus. That's another benefit of not so using social media. You have stronger levels of focus because you're not being zapped by bullshit all the time. So ultimately, you really want to stop using social media by stop using Reels, stop using the Explore page, stop using the app, use Chrome. Have dedicated time in the day to check social media. Maybe like 2 or 3 or even 1 block per day, or even less than that, where you just go and you check it for, I don't know, wherever you want to use it for, right? That's some easy ways to manage it. Or you could just quit it altogether, which honestly I would if it wasn't my business. I would definitely stop using it for like at least a month or a year if it wasn't my business. In fact, my assistant coach, Brian, he deleted Instagram and he's told himself he's gonna do it for the whole year. Which, good on this fucking guy. Because you know how many people I know doing that? Not many. The mental health benefits he's gonna acquire from that are going to be astronomical. So maybe that has to be you too. I do think everyone should take at least like a day break or 2-day breaks or 7-day breaks. If nothing else. I still do that. I still have like day breaks even though I work on Instagram. It's important. You gotta remember, real life, it's not in social media. It's out here in your world, in your external environment. Social media is the new news, by the way. See, I remember when we were young, people would talk about like, oh, I don't watch the news because it's all this fear and shit. And it's like, okay, good on you, bro. But now you're on social media, which is the same fucking bullshit. They got you. It's even worse than that because now they really curated you. The algorithm knows you. It knows what to use to poke you. And with that being said, guys, if you want to level up your social life, your dating life, your self-confidence, your habits, you want to just level up as a man altogether, link is in my description to work with me one-on-one, to apply to work with me. And if you have any question about anything, DM me on Instagram, Sergio Chavez Coach. That's about it, fellas. We'll talk soon, all right? Peace.